All right, today we're going to put on our detective hats and solve a classic business mystery. I mean, you've seen this happen a million times, right? One product just flies off the shelves, it's an instant hit. And then another one, with all the money and hype in the world, just flops, sinks without a trace. So, what's the secret sauce? Well, it almost always comes down to one thing. And it sounds so simple, but it's actually really, really hard to get right. It's about knowing what your customers actually want. Not what you think they want, but what they truly, deeply desire. And the only way you can really figure that out? Market research. So to really get into this, let's investigate a perfect cautionary tale, the Cosmos Soft Drink Company. Oh yeah, we're going to unpack this whole story. They had what they thought was a great idea, but they made a few, let's say, critical mistakes that just doomed their product from the start. This is a total masterclass in what not to do. Okay, let's set the scene. You've got Cosmos Soft Drinks. They're trying to make a huge splash, you know? They've got the vision, they've got the money, and they were pretty sure they had a rock-solid plan. And look, on the surface, this whole plan looks pretty smart, doesn't it? Their goal was crystal clear: create this sporty, youthful image for their drink. And why? Well, they did their research. They saw the under 18 population was growing, and hey, more people were getting into sports. So they launched it, threw a bunch of advertising at it, and crickets. The sales were just terrible. So the huge question is, why? Okay, to figure out where Cosmos went totally off the rails, we've got to talk about the two basic kinds of market research. Just think of them as two different toolkits you can use to get information. And this is exactly where Cosmos started. It's called secondary research. You might have heard it called desk research. It's basically using information that's already been collected by somebody else. It's stuff that's already out there, just waiting for you to find it. So what kind of stuff are we talking about? Well, things like government publications, census data, that's what told them the youth market was growing, or, market reports, newspapers, magazines. That's probably where they got the idea that sports were trending. It's a fantastic place to start, right? It helps you see the big, broad trends. And here's the breakdown of the two. On one hand, you've got that secondary research. It's usually way faster and cheaper. But the downside, the data might not be totally relevant to you, and it could even be outdated. Then there's primary research. That's when you go out and collect the data yourself. It's tailored exactly to what you need to know. But yeah, it can get really pricey and take a whole lot of time. So here we are at a crucial turning point. The directors at Cosmos, they realized, okay, this desk research isn't cutting it. They had a general idea of what was happening in the market, but they had no clue why their own drink was such a dud. So they decide, let's do some primary research. And folks, this is where the story goes from a simple mystery to an absolute tragedy. So they knew they had to talk to customers directly. Simple enough, right? But what they were about to learn the hard way is that who you ask is every bit as important as what you ask. And that brings us to this key idea, the sample. I mean, think about it. You can't survey every single potential customer in the country, right? That'd be impossible. So instead, you pick a sample. It's just a smaller, manageable group of people that's supposed to represent the whole population you care about. If you pick a good sample, their opinions should pretty much match what the larger group thinks. All right, so Cosmos gets to work. They put together this massive 30-question survey. They're thinking, this is it. We're going to get all the details we need. They were so ready to finally crack this case. So they sent it out to what they believed was a carefully selected sample. But just how big do you think this sample was? 20. No, I'm not kidding, just 20 people. To figure out why a drink is failing in a national market, they asked 20 people. That number alone should be setting off all kinds of alarm bells. I mean, how can 20 people possibly represent what thousands, maybe millions of customers think? But believe me, it gets so much worse. And this is it. This is the fatal flaw, the core of the whole disaster. Who were these 20 people? Get this, they were the only people who had ever bothered to contact the company in the first place to complain about the product. They literally surveyed a group that was 100% guaranteed to hate them. That's not a sample. That's an echo chamber of pure negativity. They were asking people who already despised their drink to explain why other people weren't buying it. It's just unbelievable. So what was the grand result of this brilliant plan? Well, out of those 20 surveys they sent to their angriest customers, they only got 6 back. 6! And to make it even more useless, some of those 6 people were elderly folks who basically said they find all soft drinks too sweet. The data they got back was completely, 100% utterly useless. And that right there is the price you pay for bad data. After all that work, all that effort, Cosmos had nothing. Absolutely nothing of value. They were right back where they started, just with less time and less money in the bank. This quote from the source material just says it all perfectly. After their big survey went out, the directors were no clearer than before. They were just as clueless as when they began. All that time, all that money, and they hadn't moved an inch closer to solving their problem. You know, bad data is often way worse than having no data at all because it can trick you into thinking you know something when you really, really don't. Okay, so we've seen a whole lot of what not to do. Let's flip it and look at a quick example of getting it right. This is a concept for a music app called Peach. Now notice the difference. Instead of some vague target like youthful, their research gave them a super specific user, a tech-aware person under 35 who uses social media and wants a sense of community. See how specific that is? And that level of detail leads directly to the features they build, like AI playlists and influencer content. That is the power of doing your research right. All right, so what are the big lessons we can pull from the epic faceplant of Cosmos soft drinks? Let's boil this whole story down into a few key takeaways you can use for, well, pretty much anything. Here's your playbook to avoid a Cosmos-level disaster. First, start broad. Use that secondary desk research to get the lay of the land. Second, get super specific about who your customer actually is. Youthful is just not going to cut it. Third, and this is the big one, make sure your sample actually represents your target audience, not just a handful of people who are already mad at you. And finally, number 4, ask questions that are actually going to give you the useful data you need. And really, that's the whole ballgame. Market research isn't just about collecting a bunch of data. It's about collecting the right data from the right people. Cosmos collected data, sure, but because it was the wrong data from the wrong people, it was totally worthless. The goal isn't just information, it's insight. So I want to leave you with a thought. Think about a product in your own life that you just love. Maybe it's your favorite app, or your go-to pair of sneakers, or even some kitchen gadget that just works perfectly. What's that one thing you use that feels so intuitive, so well-designed, that you can almost feel the hours and hours of customer research behind it? That, my friends, is the difference between a total flop like Cosmos and a real success story.